My name is Kate Middlemiss, and I am an educator, former kindergarten teacher who is now home with two of my beautiful children. My husband Scott and I were actually high school sweethearts, married, our mid-20s, did everything, kind of by the book, what we thought was right, went off, got our college educations, went to graduate school, traveled the world, country, really did everything fulfilling, and, we're seeking, our dream life. We waited 5 years after getting married to decide to have a family. At the 10-week ultrasound, which was pretty much, it was just thrown in there because I wanted to hear the baby's heartbeat. They couldn't do it in the office, so they said, hey, let's do an ultrasound. I believe my mom was with me, and she wanted to see this new life. Very quickly, we learned from that ultrasound that there were issues. But we nothing was elaborated on. There were just issues with the baby. We were the next day scheduled to be sent into Boston for further fetal testing. But in the back of my mind, I was 28 at the time, I was saying, they're just being cautious. Maybe there's something they just see on the ultrasound. When we got into Boston and the ultrasound tech began looking further, I could immediately tell something was wrong, and something big was wrong. My mom was with me and my husband, and pretty quickly the ultrasound tech moved out and the doctor came in, and without any warning basically said, we think there's major problems. I think it's a good idea to terminate now. I believe the words actually were terminate this entity. It was cold. It was, again, I was 28-year-old, pretty inexperienced to the medical world, just a new couple thinking of building a family, and that was dropped on us with very, very little support around that. We were shocked. A lot of loss happened in that moment, a loss of our dreams, that we would parent a child that we expected to parent, and also it's where were we going with this information that this doctor gave us, not even knowing what condition the child had, but just being recommended that we terminate the pregnancy. So without much guidance from the staff, we kind of did our own digging, and we asked more information and what could the next steps be. As a couple, we decided our next steps would be to do chromosomal testing to see if we could predict anything and get more information. We also decided at that time, we brought in a genetics counselor, and fortunately we have a very strong network of family and a faith foundation that, we brought in our local pastor and family, and decided regardless of what the testing showed, we were going to continue with this pregnancy. And that sounds like an easy decision, but it wasn't. It was, a lot of back and forth, but in our heart, we knew that that was what was right for us. We still decided to go on with all of the genetic testing. We had chromosomal testing, I had a CVS done, and everything looked great. The baby on ultrasound continued to have something called the cystic hygroma on the back of his neck, a large fluid-filled sac that goes along with a lot of chromosomal abnormalities, cardiac abnormalities. So chromosomally, the baby, which we found out was a boy, everything looked normal. Then came the 20-week fetal echocardiogram of the heart. And to our great relief, everything looked normal on that as well. As time went on in the pregnancy, the cystic hygroma in the back of the neck shrunk and shrunk, resolved eventually. So the time that our baby boy was born, it was a very tragic and dismal situation, had turned into a very optimistic one. Doctors and staff really believed that things would be okay and medical complications would be minor. So again, young parents, we went into the hospital. We delivered in our home hospital. We had an emergency C-section because of my blood pressure issues, and our little boy was born not breathing. Was immediately resuscitated at birth. So the emotions of first thinking everything was awful, then going through the pregnancy and gathering hope, and then the moment of birth, everything shattering again. And all those feelings of grief, terror, being alone here in this room. I just remember laying in the hospital room. Again, I had a C-section, major surgery, my husband with me, my mom again, and just this chaos going on. We could actually hear the hospital code going off, them calling a code throughout the hospital, and it was on our beautiful little baby. And that was my welcome to motherhood, really, with a lot of dreams and hopes and wishes once again shattered. And any hope that we had for a healthy child was taken away at that moment.